If you're listening, you're going to die.
We see your soul. Something dark and scary. Go to sleep. A husband and wife are making passionate love. The sound is heard, but only in their room. Thunder crackles and makes loud sounds. As it does, the sound of rain taps the roof like a million fingers playing the song at once. In a room down the hall, a little boy lies in bed. He awakes. He looks around his room. He sees his window open, the curtains blowing as wind passes through with rain water. The kid looks to be no older than 6 or 10 years old. He is frightened. He wants to shut the window, but he feels that something is off. Something is not right. He didn't leave that window open before he went to bed. The kid jumps out of bed, then rushes over to the window. He shuts it. He then jumps back into bed quickly. He lays down and pulls the sheets over himself. He then closes his eyes and tries to fall back to sleep. He then opens them. He can't sleep. He turns over, then nearly jumps out of his bed. The thunder outside flashes the light into the room. Revealing a person standing in the corner. There, in the little ray of light illuminating from the curtains, were a pair of 2 large, dark, ominous eyes. These eyes weren't normal eyes. They were bordered in black and just plain out terrifying. He also has a wide, stretched, horrendous smile and pale face. It just stood there. It made every hair on the kid's body stand up. A few minutes went by. He just stood there, staring at the boy with that crazed look on his face. The boy was shocked. He couldn't move. He was afraid that if he did, it would harm him. The kid was even afraid to close his eyes just to blink. Finally, the person spoke. He said a simple phrase. He said in only a way a madman would say, "Go to sleep." The kid screams. The crazed person rushes the boy, pulling out a knife, aiming at his heart. He then jumps on the bed as the boy fights back, kicking and punching. They both fall off the bed to the floor. The kid struggles, trying to break free as he is held down by his neck. The knife is held high, then it plummets down quick and misses the kid's face. He moves his head just in time. The thunder from outside flashes through the window, filling the room with flickering lights as the two wrestle on the floor. The boy slips out of the crazed person's grip, then runs out his room, down the hall screaming. He dashes into the restroom in the center of the hall, shutting the door, then locking it. The sound of crackling thunder wakes the husband and wife. They both now hear their son yelling and screaming. The husband jumps out of bed, then puts on some sweatpants. The wife throws on a robe, then runs out the room. The husband tries to tell her to wait as he pulls out his Glock from the bottom drawer on his bedside. The wife doesn't listen. She closes her robe as she runs down the hall to her son's bedroom. Standing in the doorway of her son's bedroom is the freakishly gray killer holding a knife. His large, white, ominous eyes stare at her in that hideous smile as he taps the side of the wall with the knife. The woman screams. The crazed person rushes her. The bathroom door opens. The boy grabs his mother's hand. She jumps inside the bathroom. Then they slam it shut, then lock it. The mother hugs her son, then kisses him. Gunshots are heard from outside the restroom. Then silence. The wife looks around the restroom for anything that they can defend themselves with. She gives her son a can of hairspray. She grabs the plunger. She slowly puts her ear to the door to see if she can hear what's happening on the other side. As she does, she sighs for her son to back away to hide in the tub.
Tom, are you okay? Did you get him? Are you hurt?
She said, trying to hold back tears. Footsteps are heard, moving closer to the door. A voice is heard from the other side. He stabbed me. I killed him. I need you to call for help. The wife unlocks the door, then opens it. As soon as the door is open, she is face to face with the killer. The crazed man is holding up her husband's severed head. The eyes are still blinking as nerves are set off. It all happened so quick. The killer swung his knife, slitting the woman's throat as she went to shut the door. She steps back, holding her neck, falling into the bathtub where her son hid. She lies in the tub, bleeding out, gargling, struggling for life.
Oh my God.
The robe is open, revealing her nude body. She looks at her son for the last time, then dies. Her eyes still locked on him. The boy is kneeling down, holding the hairspray, with tears in his eyes. The blood runs out his mother's neck, filling the bottom of the tub. The killer proceeds in. The sound of police sirens is heard. The boy looks up to see two large dark eyes looking down on him. The boy pees himself. The killer looks at the boy's naked mother, then looks back at the boy as he closes her robe, then ties it. He then rubs two of his bloody fingers over her eyes, closing them. He did this without taking his eyes off the boy. The killer's wicked smile never goes away. He then sighs for the boy to come to him. The boy slowly stands. Then he sprays him in the eyes with the can of hairspray, then runs out the tub, out of the restroom, down the stairs. The front door is kicked open as the boy reaches the bottom. 4 officers come in. The kid falls on the floor, face first, right in front of the policeman. A knife is sticking out of his back. The officer picks the kid up, then rushes him outside. The other 3 secure the home. A sound of breaking glass is heard. The officer closest to it runs to the master bedroom to find a shattered window. He looks out. He doesn't see anything at first. Then he sees a face beyond the fence staring at him. The eyes big and dark, with a wide, creepy smile on his face. The officer blinks, then squinches his eyes for a better look. The awful face is gone. He thought he was just seeing things. There is no one out there that walks around looking like that. Must have been the old imagination, he thought to himself. He couldn't take that chance seeing that it could have been the killer. He called in on his radio for help. 2 patrol officers drove to the direction they were given, and a few more came and surveillanced the area. The killer was never found. The officer who seen that face will never forget it. Those cold eyes, that psychotic smile will never leave his thoughts. Police are still on the lookout for this man. If you see anyone who fits this description in this story, please contact your local police department. Jeff and his family had moved into a new neighborhood. His father had gotten a promotion at work, and they thought it would be best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother, Lou, couldn't complain though. A new house, what was not to love? As they were getting unpacked, two of their neighbors came by.
Hello,
She said,
I'm Barbara. I live across the street from you. I just wanted to introduce myself and my son.
Standing beside her is a little kid.
Billy, say hi to our new neighbors.
Hi, Billy said, then ran back across the street to play in the yard.
Well,
Said Jeff's mom.
I'm Margaret. This is my husband, Peter, and these two over here are my sons, Jeff and Lou.
They each introduced themselves, and Barbara invited them to her son's birthday party. Jeff and his brother were about to object when their mother said that they would love to. Jeff went up to his mom. Why did you invite us to some little kid's party? If you haven't noticed, I'm not some dumb kid, Jeff said to his mom.
Show some respect. Boys, we just moved here. We should show that we want to spend some time with our neighbors. We're going to that party, and that's final.
Jeff started to argue, but stopped himself, knowing that he can't do anything whenever his mom says something is final. He walked up to his room, then plopped down on his bed, laying there, looking at the ceiling, when suddenly he gets a weird feeling. Not so much a pain, but a weird feeling, a off feeling, like something was happening inside, which was making him a bit nervous and fidgety. He dismissed it as some random feeling. He hears his mother call him down to get his stuff, so he walks down to get it. The next day, Jeff walked downstairs to have breakfast and get ready for school. As he sat there eating his breakfast, he once again got that feeling. It was a bit stronger, even a slight tugging pain. He looked at his family as they sat enjoying breakfast and talking amongst themselves. He wondered if they could notice. He once again dismissed it. Lou looked over at him, then smiled. Jeff grinned, then went on eating breakfast. After him and Lou finished breakfast, they walked down to the bus stop. They sat on a bench, waiting on the bus to arrive, when all of a sudden, some kid on a skateboard jumps over them, only inches above their heads. He could have hit them. They both jumped back in surprise. Hey, what the hell, man? Lou said as he stood up. The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard up and caught it with both hands. He wears a Aeropostale shirt and red blue jeans and has spiky hair. Well, looks like we got some new meat. Suddenly, two other kids appeared. One is tall and skinny, and the other is huge. And since you are new here, I'd like to introduce ourselves. Over there is Keith. Jeff and Lou looked at the skinny kid. He has a dopey face you would expect a sidekick to have. And here is Troy. They both looked over at the fat kid. Talk about a tub of lard. This kid looks as if he hadn't exercised since he was crawling. And I, says the kid, am Randy. Now, for all the kids in this neighborhood, there is a small price for bus fare. If you catch my drift. Lou moves closer, ready to punch the kid's lights out. Jeff moves to his feet. Keith and Troy take out knives and point them at Lou. I had hoped you would have been more cooperative, but it seems we must do things the hard way. Randy walks up to Lou, then takes his wallet out of his pocket. Jeff gets that feeling again. Now it's truly strong. He can feel his heart racing and something inside pulling. He can feel his insanity slipping away, a darker part that he has never truly had the urge to experience. Jeff walks forward. Lou tells him to stand back. Jeff ignores him, then walks up to Randy. Listen here, you fucking idiot. Give back my brother's wallet, or else. Jeff can feel the weird feeling overwhelming him inside. His hands began to sweat, nothing but anger. Randy smirks and places the wallet into his back pocket and pulls out a knife. Oh yeah? Randy says. And what are you going to do? Just as he finished his sentence, Jeff punches the kid in the nose. Randy reaches to grab Jeff's arm. Jeff grabs Randy's wrist, then twists it, making him fall to his knees. Jeff then knees him in the face. Randy falls to the ground, dropping his knife. The other two boys rush Jeff. The skinny boy throws a punch, missing Jeff's face as he dodges it. Jeff grabs the knife Randy dropped, then stabs Keith in the arm. Keith falls to the ground screaming. Troy steps up, only to be punched in his stomach. He goes down as well. As he hits the ground, he starts puking all over the place. Jeff then turns to face Randy, then kicks him across the face. Blood pours out Randy's mouth as he cries in pain. Luke can do nothing but look in amazement of Jeff. Jeff, how did you? That's all he says. They both see the bus coming. They knew they would be blamed for the whole thing. Luke pushes Jeff and tells him they gotta go. The brothers take off as fast as they can. As they look back, they see the bus driver running over to Randy and them. As Jeff and Lou make it to school, they don't dare tell what had happened. They go to class and act like nothing had happened. Lou thought about what Jeff done. He thought it was just his brother beating up some idiots. But Jeff knew it was more. He knew inside he could have done a lot worse. The feeling was a bit scary and made him feel powerful. The feel to have that urge just to hurt someone. He didn't like how it sounded. He couldn't help but to feel happy. The feeling went away the entire day of school, even as he walked home due to the whole thing near the bus stop. And now he probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore. He felt happy. When he got home, his parents asked him how his day was. Jeff looked at them with a grin. It was a wonderful day, Jeff replied back with a somewhat ominous voice. The next morning, he heard a knock at the front door. He walks down to find two police officers at the door, his mother looking back at him with an angry look.
Jeff, these officers tell me you attacked 3 boys, and it wasn't a regular fight, and that they were stabbed. Stabbed, son.
Jeff's gaze fell to the floor, showing his mother it was true. Mom, they were the ones who pulled the knives on me and Lou. Son, says one of the cops, we got 3 kids, one stabbed, one has a bruise on his stomach, and one who has a concussion from a kick to his head. And we have witnesses proving that you fled the scene. Now, what does that tell us? Jeff knew it was no use. He could say him and Lou had been attacked, but there was no proof. It was not them who attacked first. They couldn't say they weren't fleeing the scene. Truth be told, they were. So Jeff couldn't defend himself or live. Son, call down your brother, Jeff couldn't do it, since it was him who beat all 3 of those boys up. Sir, it was me who beat up all those kids. Lou tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me. The cop looked at his partner. They both nodded. Well, kid, looks like a year in juvie. Wait, says Lou. They all turn to see Lou holding a knife. The officers draw their guns, having them locked on Lou. It was me. I beat up those punks. I have the marks to prove it. He lifted up his sleeve to reveal cuts and bruises as if he were in a struggle. Son, just put down the knife, said one of the officers. Lou held up the knife, then dropped it on the floor. He put his hands up, then walked over to the officers. No, Lou. It was me. I did it. Jeff had tears running down his face. Poor bro, trying to take the blame for what I did. Well, take me away, said Lou. The police led Lou out to the patrol car. Lou, tell them, it was me. Tell them, I was the one who beat up those kids. Their mother put her hand on Jeff's shoulder.
Jeff, please, you don't have to lie. We know it's Lou. You can stop.
Jeff watched helplessly as the patrol car sped off with Lou inside. A few minutes later, Jeff's father pulled into the driveway, then sees Jeff's face, then knowing that something was wrong. Son, what is it? Jeff can't answer. His vocal cords are straining from crying. Instead, Jeff's mother walks his dad inside to break the bad news to him. Jeff walks back into the house, seeing his parents are both shocked, sad, and disappointed. He can't look at them. He can't see how they could think of Lou that way when it was his fault. Jeff just goes to sleep, trying to get the whole thing off his mind. Two days go by with no word from Lou at JDC. No friends to hang out with, nothing but sadness and guilt. That is until Saturday, when Jeff is woke up by his mother with a happy, sunny face.
Wake up, Jeff. It's the day. Wake up.
She says as she opens the curtains and light floods into Jeff's room. Mom, what's today? Says Jeff as he sits up in bed.
Why? It's Billy's party.
Jeff is not fully awake. Mom, you joking, right? You don't expect me to go to some kid's party after, the long pause.
Jeff, we both know what happened. I think this party could be the thing that brightens up this last few days. Now get dressed.
Jeff's mother walks out of the room, then down to get herself ready. He fought himself to get up. He picked out a random shirt and pair of jeans and walked downstairs. He saw his mother and father all dressed up, his mother in a dress and his father in a suit. He thought why they would ever wear such fancy clothes to a kid's party.
Son, is that all you're going to wear?
Said Jeff's mom. Better than wearing too much, he said. His mother pushed down the feeling to yell at him and hid it with a smile. Now, Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how we go if you want to make an impression, said Jeff's father. Jeff grunted and went back up to his room. I don't have any fancy clothes, he yelled downstairs.
Just pick something out,
called his mother. He looked around in his closet for what he would call fancy. He found a pair of black dress pants he had for special occasions and a undershirt. He couldn't find a shirt to go with it, though. He looked around and found only striped and patterned shirts, none of which go with dress pants. Finally, he found a white hoodie and put it on.
You're wearing that?
They both said. His mother looked at her watch.
Oh, no time to change. Let's just go,
she said as she herded Jeff and his father out the door. They crossed the street over to Barbara and Billy's house. They knocked on the door, and at it appeared that Barbara, just like his parents, way overdressed.
Hi, we're here.
How are you doing? Hi. As they walked inside, all Jeff could see were adults, no kids.
The kids are out in the yard. Jeff, how about you go and meet some of them?
Said Barbara. Jeff walked outside to a yard full of kids. They were running around in weird cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic guns. He might as well be standing in a Toys R Us. Suddenly, a kid came up to him and handed him a toy gun and a hat.
Hey, wanna play?
He said. No kid. I'm way too old for this stuff. The kid looked at Jeff with a weird puppy dog face.
Please,
said the kid. Fine, said Jeff. He put on the hat and started to pretend shoot at the kid. At first, he thought it was totally ridiculous. But then he started to actually have fun. It might not have been super cool, but it was the first time he had done something that took his mind off blue. So he played with the kids for a while, until he heard a noise, a weird rolling noise. Then it hit him. Randy and Keith jumped over the fence on their skateboards. Jeff dropped the fake gun and ripped off the hat. Randy looked at Jeff with a burning hatred. Troy made his way into the yard by kicking in the fence, breaking through it to get in. Wooden boards went flying into the yard.
Hello, Jeff. Is it?
Randy said.
We have some unfinished business.
Jeff saw his busted nose. I think we're even. I beat the fuck out of you, and you got my brother sent to JDC. Randy got an angry look in his eyes.
Oh no, I don't go for even, I go for winning. You may have won that fight by the bus stop, but not today, not this one.
As he said that, Randy rushed at Jeff. They both fell to the ground. Randy punched Jeff in the face, trying to hit his nose, and Jeff grabbed him by the ears and headbutted him. Jeff pushed Randy off of him, and both rose to their feet. Kids were screaming, and parents were running out of the house. Troy and Keith both pulled guns out of their pockets.
No interruptions, or Gus will fly. Gus will fucking fly,
they both said. Randy pulled a knife on Jeff and stabbed it into his shoulder. Jeff grabs Randy's arm, trying to stop him. Randy jams it in harder. Jeff screamed and fell to his knees. Randy started kicking him in the face. After 3 kicks, Jeff grabs his foot, twists it, causing Randy to fall to the ground. Jeff stood up and stumbled towards the back door. Troy ran over, then grabbed Jeff.
Need some help?
He picks Jeff up by the back of the collar and throws him through the patio door. As Jeff tries to stand, he is kicked down to the ground. Randy repeatedly starts kicking Jeff until he starts to cough up blood.
Come on, Jeff, fight me!
He picks Jeff up and throws him into the kitchen. From inside the home, adults move away. Troy and Keith point their weapons at them to stay out of it. Randy sees a bottle of vodka on the counter and smashes the glass over Jeff's head.
Fight!
He throws Jeff back into the living room.
Come on, Jeff, look at me!
Jeff glances up, his face riddled with blood.
I was the one who got your brother sent to JDC, and now you're just gonna sit here and let him rot in there for a whole year? You should be ashamed.
Jeff starts to get up.
Oh, finally, you stand and fight.
Jeff is now to his feet, blood and vodka on his face. Once again, he gets that strange feeling, the one in which he hasn't felt for a while.
Finally, he's up,
says Randy as he runs at Jeff. That's when it happens. Something inside Jeff snaps. His psyche is destroyed. All rational thinking is gone. All he can do is kill. A twisted, crazed smile appears on Jeff's face. He grabs Randy, then runs him into a wall in the kitchen, then pile drives him to the floor. He gets up, he gets on top of him and punches him straight in the heart. Randy struggles to fight back but fails. Jeff continues to hit him in the chest where his heart is. The several punches causes Randy's heart to stop. As Randy gasps for breath, Jeff hammers down on his face. Punch after punch, blood gushes from Randy's face until he takes his final breath and dies. Jeff stands up, then stomps Randy's head to the floor. Everyone is looking at Jeff now. The parents, the crying kids, even Troy and Keith, although they easily break from their gaze and point their guns at Jeff. Jeff sees the guns pointed at him and runs for the stairs. As he runs, Troy and Keith open fire on him. Each shot missing. Jeff runs up the stairs. He hears Troy and Keith follow up behind as they let out their final rounds. Jeff ducks into the bathroom. He grabs the towel rack and rips it off the wall. Troy and Keith race in, knives ready. Troy swings his knife at Jeff, who backs away and bangs the towel rack into Troy's face. Troy goes down hard. Troy looks up with a deep gash in his face, blood pouring. Jeff swings again, knocking teeth loose from his mouth. Troy collapses. And now all that's left is Keith. He is more agile than Troy and ducks when Jeff swings the towel rack. He drops the knife and grabs Jeff by the neck. Keith pushes Jeff into the wall. A thing of bleach fell down on top of them from the top shelf. It burns both of them, and they both started to scream and yell. Jeff wiped his eyes as best he could. He pulled back the towel rack and swung it straight into Keith's head. Keith goes down. He tries to stand back up. Jeff swung the towel rack again, hitting Keith in the head once more. As Keith lay there, bleeding to death, Jeff let out an ominous smile, his eyes with a dark gaze of evil in them, blood dripping off his face. Keith lies on the floor, looking up at Jeff. Keith starts laughing. What's so funny? Asked Jeff. Keith pulled out a lighter and switched it on.
What's so funny is that you're covered in bleach and alcohol,
said Keith. Jeff's eyes widened as Keith threw the lighter at him. As soon as the flame made contact with him, the flames ignited. The alcohol and vodka. While the alcohol burned him, the bleach bleached his skin. Jeff let out a terrible screech. As he caught on fire, he tried to roll out the fire, but it was no use. The alcohol had made him a walking inferno. Soon the fire started to spread onto the walls. He ran down the hall and fell down the stairs. Everybody started screaming as they saw Jeff, now a man on fire, dropped to the ground, nearly dead. Jeff stood up screaming for help. A girl runs in with a fire extinguisher from the front door. She sees Jeff burning, then she faints. The last thing Jeff saw was his mother and the other parents trying to extinguish the flame. That's when he passed out. It all went black. When Jeff woke, he had a cast wrapped around his face. He couldn't see anything, but he felt a cast on his shoulder and stitches all over his body. He tried to stand up, but he realized that there was some tube in his arm, and when he tried to get up, it fell out, and a nurse rushed in.
I don't think you can get out of bed just yet,
she said as she put him back in his bed and reinserted the tube. Jeff sat there with no vision, no idea of what his surroundings were. Finally, after hours, he heard his mother.
Honey, are you okay?
She asked. Jeff couldn't answer though. His face was covered and he was unable to speak.
Oh, honey, I have great news. After all the witnesses told the police that Randy and his friends confessed, are trying to attack you. They decided to let Lou go.
This made Jeff almost bolt up, stopping halfway, remembering the tube coming out of his arm.
He'll be out by tomorrow, and then you two will be able to be together again.
Jeff's mother hugs Jeff and says her goodbyes. The next couple of weeks were those where Jeff was visited by his family. One day a girl came to see him. He could barely hear her speaking to him.
I left you a note. I wanted the truth to come out about what Randy done at the bus stop. So I told the police what happened. Get better, Jeff.
Jeff can smell her. The scent of perfume. Not only that scent, but the scent of her. He could feel the warmth she had and the caring heart she has. Jeff wasn't himself. He just lay there with no response. Then came the day where his bandages were to be removed. His family were all there to see it, what he would look like as the doctors unwrapped the bandages from Jeff's face. Everyone was on the edge of their seats. They waited until the last bandage holding the cover over his face was almost removed. "Let's hope for the best," said the doctor. He quickly pulled the cloth, letting the rest fall from Jeff's face. Jeff's mother screams at the sight of his face. Lou and Jeff's father stare in shock at his face. What happened to my face?" Jeff said. He rushed out of bed and ran to the bathroom. He looked in the mirror and saw the cause of the distress. His face, it's horrible. His lips were burnt to a deep shade of red. His face was turned into a pure white color, and his hair singled from brown to black. He slowly put his hand to his face. It had a sort of leathery feel to it now. He looked back at his family, then back at the mirror. "Jeff," said Lou, "it's not that bad." "Not that bad," said Jeff. "It's perfect." His family were equally surprised. Jeff started laughing uncontrollably. His parents noticed that his left eye and hand were twitching.
Jeff, are you okay?"
said his mother.
"Okay, I've never felt more happier. Look at me. This face goes perfectly with me."
He couldn't stop laughing. He stroked his face, feeling it, looking at it in the mirror. What caused this? Well, you may recall that when Jeff was fighting Randy, something in his mind, his sanity, snapped. Now he was left as a crazy killing machine. That is, his parents didn't know.
"Doctor,"
said Jeff's mom.
"is my son alright, in the head?"
"Oh yeah, this behavior is typically for patients that have taken very large amounts of painkillers. If his behavior doesn't change in a few weeks, bring him back here and we'll give him a psychological test."
"Oh, thank you, doctor."
Jeff's mother went over to Jeff.
"Jeff, sweetie, it's time to go."
Jeff looks away from the mirror. His face still formed into a crazed smile.
"Okay, Mommy."
His mother took him by the shoulder and took him to get his clothes.
"This is what came in,"
said the lady at the desk. Jeff's mom looked down to see the black dress pants and white hoodie her son wore. Now they were clean of blood and now stitched together. Jeff's mother led him to his room and had him put his clothes on, and they left, not knowing that this was their final day of life. Later that night, to a sound coming from the bathroom, it sounded as if someone was crying. She slowly walked over to see what it is. When she looked into the bathroom, she saw a horrendous sight. Jeff had taken a knife and carved a smile onto his cheeks.
Jeff, what are you doing?
Asked his mother. Jeff looked over to his mother, his head tilted to the side, with blood dripping from the fresh wounds. I couldn't keep smiling, Mommy. It hurt after a while. Now, I could smile forever. Jeff's mother noticed his eyes, ringed in black.
Jeff, your eyes!
His eyes were seemingly never closing. I couldn't see my face. I got tired and my eyes started to close. I burned out the eyelids so I could forever see myself, my new face. Jeff's mother slowly started to back away, seeing that her son was going insane. What's wrong, Mommy? Aren't I beautiful?
Yes, son,
she said.
Let me go get your father so he can see your face.
She ran into the room and shook Jeff's dad from his sleep.
Honey, get the gun.
She stopped as she saw Jeff in the doorway, holding a knife. Jeff taps the blade on the side of the wall. Mommy, you lied. Jeff's mother screamed as Jeff rushed her. She is stabbed multiple times. His father turns over to catch the end of the blade into his forehead. Jeff grabs the handle of the knife, then pulls it, dragging his father out of bed onto the floor. His dad is crawling now. Jeff then puts his foot on his dad's face, then pulls the knife out of his head. Blood splatters on the walls. Jeff then stabs his father in the stomach. Jeff looks over to see his mother bleeding out on the floor. She is crawling towards the hallway. Jeff walks over, then flips her over to her back. How about a smile on that face, Mommy? Said Jeff. Jeff stands over her, then stabs her in the throat. He starts carving into her face as she lays lifeless on the floor in the bedroom doorway. His brother Lou woke up, startled by some noise. He didn't hear anything else, so he just shut his eyes and tried to go back to sleep. As he was on the border of slumber, he got the strangest feeling that someone was watching him. He looked up. Jeff's hand covered his mouth. He slowly raised the knife, ready to plunge it into Lou. Lou thrashed here and there, trying to escape Jeff's grip. Shh, Jeff said. Just go to sleep.